From the Keith Vincent Carroll Studios in Paterson, New Jersey, Green Hour Media proudly presents Is This Real? Tonight, what is the curse of Tutankhamun? We'll discuss. Now your host, JC3.
Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of Is This Real?
Is this real?
Tonight's episode, as you can see to this dickhead to the left of me, or right of me, we are doing King Tut, the curse of the Tut Man. In the booth tonight with me, I have Big Joe. Big Joe, say hello to everybody.
To everybody.
So we have Big Joe over there. We have Mr. West in the corner. Formerly known as Eric, now Mr. West. Mr. West, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Wait till he turns himself into a symbol.
Yes. On my right side, again, as you can see, he is Mr. The Pope himself.
I'm the Pharaoh
Pope.
tluck.
He's the Pharaoh tonight.
Just for tonight's episode.
I don't know, Anthony, from
just
the
for
chin up
tonight's
with that hat
episode.
on, you actually look like the Las Vegas casino. I don't know.
the Luxor.
Damn.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Okay.
And I'm JC3. So tonight's episode, as we continue our season of curses, now we are on episode 2.
Yes.
We are talking about the curse of King Tutankhamun.
Yes.
Tutankhamun, I said that correctly.
So
right?
Yes, you did.
So that was the pharaoh, right?
The
He
pharaoh,
was a
yes.
pharaoh. Yes.
Yes, he was a pharaoh.
So let's get some history down first.
Hold on. Wait, wasn't he the youngest one?
No. He wasn't He was a young pharaoh. He was only about 19 years old when he died.
Hey, where's the young pharaoh?
So okay, does anyone know why they mummified motherfuckers?
Well, Islam wasn't that they were like not religion, but like they believed there's an afterlife and that they mummified them and put all their wealthy possessions in the room with them so they could have it in the afterlife.
Yes, they believe that like the afterlife is just like regular life, which is fucking weird. So when you died,
They were sniffing a lot of blue lily flowers.
oh dear God. When you died, you got to take all
Or
your
was it
shit
Blue
with you,
Lotus? I think it might
right?
be Blue Lotus.
which means that when you were buried, they put all your shit in there, like, you know, your fucking video game system, your books, any type of entertainment shit.
No video game system. Anthony.
Slaves that you had, any pets, it's like, go in there, foo-foo. You just throw them in the fucking tomb, and they sealed it up.
They put live people
It's
in
blue,
the tomb
it's
with
blue
these
lotus
people?
flower.
Yes.
And didn't these people know they were going in the tomb? Or
Well, if you were a slave, you had no choice. That's the whole concept of being a slave.
This is going to sound a little stupid, but I hope none of them had claustrophobia.
Well, there was people who there were guards. Like, this is my job to guard the pharaoh. I'm his
Wasn't
guard, so I will guard him in the
Weren't
afterlife.
the Jewish people the slaves back then?
What?
Weren't the Jewish people the slaves back
We're
then?
not. Nope.
Yes.
Nope. We're not touching that one.
Well, I know it's the truth. Historically speaking, they built the pyramids.
I can honestly think that these guys were locked in with him after about 3 or 4 hours going, you know what, Hans? I think we made a fucking mistake.
Hans?
They were German.
They were well, till when I come up with
I don't think this was the best ideas. They haven't left us enough strudel.
Please, for the love of God. For the love of God, can you continue with your history lesson?
So they would mummify motherfuckers, and this was a long process to mummify
Yikes.
someone because you had to dry a person out. You had to remove all the organs because they believed that the way you look in death, in like lying in your sarcophagus, is the way your spirit looks in the afterlife. So they were very against like desecrating remains because they believed that that person's spirit is going to be desecrated in the afterlife as well.
Did any of these spirits, is there any stories of these spirits actually coming back to haunt people?
Well,
or?
the ancient religion goes like this, right? You have Osiris, which would be the god of the dead. Not Anubis, who was the god of funerals. They were very specific with their gods. You know, and you had Jeff, the god of biscuits, and then you had... You all right, Joey?
Fuck you!
Mikey, the god of headdresses. They ran out of names and shit after a while, but everyone got a god. But Osiris,
You're an
the legend
asshole.
goes that Osiris was a living person, and then he pissed someone off, and they killed him, and they chopped his body up into like 18 pieces or some shit. And and they hid it all across Egypt. And his wife Isis, if I'm not fucking this up,
I think it was his. I think Isis was his mother.
okay, it could have been his mother.
And the person that killed him was Seth.
Okay, I don't know that part of it.
I think that's how it goes.
It could be.
It's pretty much the
But-
Egyptian. It's pretty much the Egyptian story of Jesus Christ.
Essentially, because this, whoever it was, brought all the pieces back together again, sewed his ass up, and he became the god of the dead. He basically came back to life, and he said that you have to mummify people the way you mummified me because that is going to intact their soul in the afterlife.
Right.
And then they started making, these tombs, and the biggest area is right now that we know of is called the Valley of the Kings, where there was a lot of pharaohs that were buried there.
They all got their own pyramid, or
No, they get their own pyramid. They got their own tomb. When I heard that the pyramids were built by slaves, I thought they were built by bricks. I didn't think. I mean, building by slaves, the pyramid's not going to last that long. What? What's really interesting, Joe?
Bad pharaoh. Bad pharaoh. Shut up.
Fuck up. Shut up.
Hold on. What's really interesting, Joey, I don't know if you know this. There was one pharaoh they found in the Valley of the Kings. And this was very strange because they opened up his tomb and it was filled with all the usual stuff, a lot of gold, and for whatever reason, a lot of delicate and decadent chocolate. This was known as the tomb of Pharaoh Rocher. I don't know if you knew that.
I fucking hate you. Kevin, for the love of God, can we please get back to the fucking episode?
Okay.
King Tut.
Okay. So, King Tut okay, when it comes to the Egyptian kings, they married brother to sister to keep the bloodline pure. It was fucking weird.
Ew.
And King Tut
They
became...
fucked each other.
They did. And King Tut became... he was fucked up. Like, he had a cleft foot, like a club foot. He had, he was deformed.
No, you don't say.
Yeah, after 9 generations, who would have thought? But he came out all fucking geeked up. And he had 2 children with his sister, although they were both stillbirths. And then he died at 19 years old, right? So they tossed his ass. They buried him. Now, throughout the millennia, I mean, you think of everybody who's invaded Egypt. You have Napoleon who invaded Egypt. You had the Romans who invaded Egypt. The Crusades invaded Egypt. They were storming the Valley of the Kings over and over again.
Right.
But for whatever reason, Tut's tomb was always missed. No one ever found his tomb.
Now, was his tomb in a pyramid?
His tomb was not a pyramid, no. It was just another plot in the Valley of the Kings. So this guy named Howard Carter, who was originally, he was an artist who was depicting hieroglyphs. And he caught that there was another mummy out there that we don't know about. It hasn't been found. It was a name on a parchment that was found in another Egyptian pharaoh's tomb.
Right.
And it was, on the parchment was Tutankhamun. And he's like, well, we never found King Tut. So he's got to be out there somewhere. So he started his own investigation. And he hooked up with this guy named George Herbert, who was the 5th Earl of Carnarvon, a British aristocrat, who basically like, oh, Egypt, lovely. And he funded it. He's like, Howard, go be a doll, dig up in the desert, find me a mummy. Thank you, sir. And he funded all of this. And it went 5 years.
I'm pretty sure it did go something like that, too.
It went 5 years and nothing happened. He couldn't find shit. And Howard, he's like, I'm closing up shop. The purse strings must come to a close. And he convinced him, like, dude, give me one more season out here.
One more season.
And he said, all right, very well. And he went. And he did the last season. And as he was digging, they found a fucking step. They found a stone step.
Right.
So they kept digging, and it led all the way down to a door. And above the door, pretty much it said, like, here lies Tutankhamun.
Oh, my God.
So they found it. And they dug deep, they dug out the whole door, and the door still had the rope around the handle, meaning that nobody had ever entered it for 3,000 years.
Oh, my God.
Right?
But
here's the thing. Howard couldn't just kick the door down and say, I'm here, let's do this shit.
Why not?
Because he had to wait for the Earl of Carnarvon to come down from England. Because it was his find. because together
Right.
they were splitting everything they found with the country of Egypt, 50-50. So he gets down there, and they open the door. And now, before they do that, he drills a small hole in the door in the upper right corner, and he looks in with a candle, and he's like, "There's fucking gold in there." So he gets down there, they open the door up, and it is like the worst, like kind of You ever seen that show? What's it? Where they're pack rats. Hoarders. There's shit everywhere. There's fucking chariots. There's beds. There's drawers. There's artifacts. Everything is covered in gold. And this is an antechamber. Like the body's not even there. It's in the room next door. So there's all this shit. And because there's so much of it, they can't just move it out of the way to get to the chamber where he's buried in. Because they have to take everything out, clean it, catalog it, box it and ship it, photograph it. And that takes 3 months to do.
Wow.
Fucking Christ.
And then they finally got over to the door, and they opened it up, and they found a fucking sarcophagus, which is basically 3 coffins inlaid in each other, the size of the room.
Oh
And they found King Tut.
Now let me ask you this: after they found it, how close to that did they know there was a curse, or assumed?
Well, the first person to die was George Herbert, the Earl of Carnarvon. He died 3 months later.
No shit.
Oh no.
Here's the weird thing. Okay, so here's the weird thing. Okay, and everything's weird about this.
Yeah.
Georgie boy.
Was it beetles?
No, it was a mosquito.
It's not the mummy.
No, but
But
scarabs are
technically
beetles.
it is.
Mosquito. What mosquito?
First of all, can't call me a nigga.
What do you mean a mosquito?
A mosquito bit Lord Carnarvon on the cheek. Now, the people that say if you look at where he was bit versus look at King Tut's mummy, there's a similar mark in the same area.
Yeah.
But who knows if that's true, really true or not.
Right.
But he was bit by a mosquito. Now, Carnarvon was not exactly a young dude. He was in his 50s, but he had a compromised immune system. And for 3 weeks or 3 months afterwards, he was getting sicker and sicker until he died of pneumonia. And on the day of his death, which was April 5th, allegedly, apparently, the moment he died, the entire city of Egypt's lights went out. It's not Egypt, Cairo. That's the city. Egypt's a country.
The entire country's lights went out.
No, the entire city's lights went out, and the dog died. The dog, according to Carnarvon's son, the dog, who was a 3-legged dog, not named Lucky, I wish it was. Her name was Susie. She went, "Arr!" and then keeled the fuck over. That was the first death associated with King Tut's, the discovery of King Tut's tomb.
That's explainable.
Yeah,
Technically,
What-
too.
Yeah, technically that's 2 deaths. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's basically explainable. Now, what about what made him think that this might have been a curse?
Well, let's see. So that was April of 1923 that he dies. May of 1923, a visitor named George Gould, he dies. He had a fever, which led to pneumonia. So you had 2 people die of pneumonia within 5 months.
And he's a visitor.
He was a visitor, right.
Okay.
5 months go by,
It just sounds like a mosquito to me.
2 people dead, all right? Now remember, this is the 1920s. And this was the first time we've ever uncovered a fully intact tomb with a mummy in it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, 3,000 years passed and tombs were raided by various groups of people. So he dies, and there was a deal in place that there was only one newspaper that was being able to cover any of this shit. They wouldn't talk to any other. So they started writing up all this shit about these deaths and how it led back to the thing, the tomb.
Common, right?
So it was very, very strange. So they both, they both died of nearly the same thing.
Now, at this point, was stuff removed from there? already?
Everything was removed.
Now, what? Now, to this day, do you know what they're doing? If they're still there, are they a tourist thing? Or,
Oh, it's a tourist thing now.
so people will go in there even though there's a But there's nothing in it, right?
There's nothing in there now. At least I don't think so. I didn't really do my research into what's there now. I think most of the shit's on display in various museums, including Tut himself.
Okay.
I do know that they were moving everything, and they both saw. They were looking at photographs, and someone noticed that there's black mold in the tomb. So, like, there's black mold there. That explains the pneumonia.
Yeah, well, that explains there's oxygen getting into that tomb.
Well, yeah, sure. But that would explain the pneumonia as well. Now, 5 months after Lord Carnarvon died, his half-brother died. His half-brother died from sepsis. But people think that the curse moved from him over to his half-brother. What's the matter? Are you okay?
What is
Yeah, fine.
sepsis?
Sepsis is like a blood disease. It's like it's dirty blood. Your blood's not clean, and it's.
Oh damn! How dare you call me a muggle?
I did not.
I don't know. Can curses transfer?
I don't know. And then here's where it really takes off. Where everyone started shitting their socks.
What's with that fucking phrase?
Hugh Evelyn White, who was a British archaeologist, he visited the tomb. He started feeling really fucked up. He saw the deaths that had happened, and in 1924, he offed himself. And he wrote in his own blood, apparently, I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear. When he wrote that, people went apeshit. And of course, there's warnings in the tomb, like don't fucking move the body. Death will find you on swift wings.
Well, that's what any.
Yeah, you do that with anybody.
In, tomb.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like I said, this was the first time we had ever truly found a tomb with a mummy intact with all of its treasures. This is the quintessential definition of grave robbing. It really is.
Yes.
No, you're not wrong.
So you have Kavanaugh died, or Kavanaugh, whatever the fuck his name, the Lord
The Earl.
Carnarvon died.
Earl.
The dog.
George Gould died. Audrey Herbert, his half-brother, died. You have Hugh Evelyn White die. Then you have a guy, and this is why I believe that if this is a curse, it loves irony. There's an Egyptologist named Aaron Ember, and he visited the tomb. He took some cool shit, and he came back to the United States, and he was hosting a party. He was writing a book about the Book of the Dead. And he was hosting a party showing off all of his fancy treasures, and his house caught fire.
Nice.
Now, the witnesses say that the house started as like, oh, hey, there's a fire in the other room. All right, everyone just move outside. I'm going to go upstairs, grab my book. I'll be outside in a minute. And all of a sudden, it went poof up in smoke. Like, it went like the fire burned up the house so quickly, it was like the house was doused in gasoline. Ember burned to death, which is hysterical to me.
Why? I mean, yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
So Ember dies, his
His
wife
last name is
dies,
Ember and he
his
dies with
son
Ember.
Yeah,
dies.
by the way, that's kind of fucked up to say that. It's funny that someone died, asshole.
Well, I mean, his last name is Ember, and he gets burnt up.
I don't care.
Anyway, not to cut you off, but on a side note here, most of the tomb's goods were sent to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo and are now in the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza. Although Tutankhamun's mummy and sarcophagus are still on display in the tomb, flooding and heavy tourist traffic have inflicted damage on the tomb since its discovery, and a replica of the burial chamber has been constructed nearby to reduce tourist pressure on the original tomb. So they took almost all of the stuff out except for him.
Okay. So let me just finish the last few people, then we'll go to the first
Okay,
break.
that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you. Another person doing my job.
So you have. So now you have another man named Richard Bethel, who was Lord Carnarvon's secretary. He died in 1929, although people think that his death is somehow related to Aleister Crowley.
Whoa!
Yeah. He was found smothered to death in a locked hotel room. That's exactly why like, how do you get smothered in a locked hotel room?
Yeah.
So,
Someone sent their spirit out.
there's that guy, Richard Bethel. Then you have Sir Archibald Douglas Reed.
Sir Archibald Douglas Reed.
Are these all English people are doing this?
Mostly. I mean, Ember was an American. Sir Archibald he'd be, British.
Right.
This guy X-rayed King Tut. Like when it got back to the museum, he died 3 days later.
Yo.
And then you have James Henry Breasted, another famous Egyptologist. He was a part of the team that opened the tomb. Okay, okay. He didn't die until 1935, right? Mm-hmm. But he was passing by Howard Carter's tent right after they found the tomb. He had a pet canary.
Aww.
And as he passed it, he heard the canary squawk. Mm-hmm. And as he walked in, I think it's either James Henry Breasted or it's a guy named Arthur Callender. I'm not sure which one was it. Let me put it like this. Everyone's dead now. It's 100 years ago. But one of those two men were passing Howard Carter's tent. The guy who's supposed to be the head of the search. Mm-hmm. He's passing the tent. He hears the canary squawk. Right. Looks inside. In the cage, eating the canary, a king cobra. That happened the day they found the steps. So, like, right there, it's like, bad juju, do not go. Lastly, the last man to die was Howard Carter himself, but he died at 64 years old of lymphoma. So he had cancer, and he lived a good life. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So those are the people who were a part of King Tut's find.
They're no longer with us.
Well, this is 100 years ago. They would have been dead anyway. But these are the people who died under weird circumstances. Mm-hmm. Right after the tomb was discovered.
Well, before we go to break, you just said it before, and on November 4th, and I know this episode's going to debut in. I know this episode's going to debut in 2023, right. But we're doing it in 2022, and November 4th, 1922 to November 4th, November 4th, 1922 to November 4th, 2022. It's been 100 years since they discovered this. So it's been exactly 100 years.
Yes.
So we're doing this curse in exactly 100 years after they found King Tut.
Oh, fucking great.
Exactly 100 years.
Yep.
So we will be right back with more King Tut and his curse and...
Maybe.
I mean, who knows?
I think I'm going to take the hat off now.
So we'll be right back. King Tut and his curse and...
Maybe.
I mean, who knows?
I think I'm going to take the hat off now.
So we'll be right back. King Tut and his curse and...
Maybe.
I mean, who knows?
I think I'm going to take the hat off now.
So we'll be right
I think I'm going to take the hat off now. I think I'm going to take the hat off now.
Welcome back to King Tut's Curse. Now, basically, in our first 20 minutes, we went through everything that's happened in King Tut's Curse. Mostly. There's not a lot here.
How about, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Has there been any deaths, that have been associated with the curse now? Or since...
Like up to date?
Yeah, I mean, like when they move the stuff around, the people that were moving it around and stuff like that to different museums.
Well, you just think about it. Okay, never mind. I mean, in that, I haven't read anything. I don't know, Anthony, if you read anything. I know if you're going to talk about the people who have, were involved in
the discovery of it.
I mean, it's over 100. It's 100 years old since they discovered. So most of those people are going to be dead anyway.
Not only that, there was 58 people who were there when the tomb was uncovered and when the sarcophagus was opened, and 8 of them died. The ninth being the X-ray the technician back at the museum.
And
I
the
don't
10th
hardly
being the
call
dog.
that a curse, though. I mean, 9 people died. You know,
9 out of 58. You know what I mean? Like,
that is a pretty good, big number.
it's like 14%. Is that? Did I do the math right there?
Dude, my head's not in math.
Well,
zone
9 out
right
of
now, so-
58.
Carry the 1.
I have a calculator.
Divide by pi.
Be one,
Square root of Ramses.
be
I don't
one-
know.
1/5 of the people. You know?
Wait, what? He said divide by pi. What?
Square root of Ramses. So yeah.
6.75%.
Okay, we'll go with that. I don't know if that sounds right.
Well, you times that by 100 then.
I guess.
And I find it amazing that they found this thing in that condition, considering if you look at the map, all these other tombs were raided and destroyed right around it. You know, they got Ramses, was like, literally, you come up the steps of this one, make a left, and it's right there.
Right. And
So that's pretty strange, and it got robbed.
yeah.
So anything, but this thing must have been buried in the sand. Nobody knew it, and then they just got lucky and found it.
And the weird shit is there was 2. So you have the rope, and you can look this up online. There's pictures of it where you could see the rope that was still wrapped around the door handle.
Right.
But they also say that when they opened the antechamber, all of the stuff was like pushed around. Like it wasn't just neatly laid in there.
Right.
It looked like either they threw it in there and they didn't give a fuck, which doesn't seem likely to me because this is a pharaoh you're talking about. They want to treat him with respect. Or that somebody was in there at one point and then left and then tied the noose, the rope back on the door.
My thing.
But why would they do that either? you
Why
know?
would they, if
Fuck
they're
off,
gonna,
West.
especially in this situation where most of these, if you look at the online stuff, they look like a garage sale. Most of them, not the architecture is
Right.
just remarkable.
Do you think they put up signs?
Oh, well. The last survivors were Lady Evelyn Herbert, that was Lord Carnarvon's daughter, who was, probably she was there on site in 1922.
Right.
She died in 1980, and an American archaeologist, J.O. Kinnaman, who died in 1961, 39 years after the event. So that's the last person who was there. Well, he died in 61. She died in 80. Nothing bad happened.
Has anybody tried to study the curse as far as? Has
I
anybody?
have you on mute, bro.
Is there any kind of, or this is just speculation, right? I mean,
they're
They-
calling it a curse because it happened to all these people who were inside that tomb.
so there's no literature or anything that the Egyptians
Besides-
left
Well,
behind saying-
besides when you go in there, it says on the walls, "Don't fuck with dead things because we'll haunt you."
Wow.
There's that, but Egyptians did believe you don't fuck with the dead,
Right.
because when you fuck with the dead, their spirit can get pissed off and they will strike you down from beyond the grave. They were very hocus pocus and they were into a lot of spooky shit.
Wow.
Sniffed a lot of blue lotus flowers.
I think they have.
Why?
Listen,
why?
they were-
Because they like to get high, and that's how they had a different.
They were a
thinking.
desert people who fucked their own siblings.
They were agrarian people.
And they made these massive pyramids and amazing structures.
That's like I think
They
Anthony.
like to get high.
Anthony said it before. What was written, a medallion with the inscription inside, it said, "Death will come swiftly to those who disturb the tomb of the king." Now, if you want to consider that it took 1922, it took almost 60 years for mostly everyone who, not mostly, but like from the main source of people who contributed to this to die.
Well, that's
9
what I
out
mean.
of 58. So I don't know if you want to consider this. It's a spooky thing because it's
mean-
a tomb. You're dealing with ancient Egyptian shit, and we want to call it a curse because we want to sit there and like tie everything together, and it sells.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
there's
I
been
mean,
so many
shit.
things like so many things.
The Mummy,
on-
1932.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
Exactly.
I mean, there's fucking Goosebump books written by R.L. Stein. Like, mummies sell because they're a spooky fucking.
It's not even that.
Thing.
Like there's so many documentaries about King Tut and the King Tut's curse and stuff like that.
Van
so,
Halen. I mean, not Van Halen. Excuse me. Iron Man's mascot's a fucking mummy.
Yeah. So there's
Well,
there's
Eddie's
a
more
lot.
of a zombie, but still.
What I find interesting about
What do you
this,
find interesting?
I'm looking at what they call the Medane project. and that preserves all these sites. And if you look at the architecture inside these tombs, it kind of looks like maybe I don't know, like a modern day motel spa.
Yeah.
You know, and to think about, there was no electricity, there's no lights. They had to do this by candlelight. Okay. Dragging all this stuff in there, it's just fucking amazing.
And you want to know why we don't have that many mummies on display? Like, we have mummies. Like, Ramses has a fucking passport. Did you know that? King Ramses went on tour, I think, in the 70s. Like, they were shipping him around from country to country. Like, look, it's fucking King Pharaoh Ramses. He had to get a passport done, take his picture. I'm not joking with you. You can look up King Ramses' passport online because technically, that's a body. So, but there's a reason why we don't have that many mummies out there. It's because we ate a lot of them.
Excuse the fuck out of me?
Yeah. Yeah. During the Dark Ages, nobility over in like Germany, England, France, Italy, did I say England? They ate the powdered bodies of Egyptian mummies because back then they didn't understand medicine.
So I'm just gonna ingest the remains of a dead
That's
person.
fucking disgusting.
They did it for medicinal use.
That's just,
Them damn Germans and their.
They did. It's not just German. It's a lot of people.
The Italians, the French, and the German. But it's nobility.
Yeah, it's nobility.
Kings, queens.
It's like he's sick and dying. We've given him all the opioids we can.
Give the king the body of the pharaoh. That's basically what
has
it
there
came down
ever
to.
been
Oh,
any?
man. This is.
You know, it seems like there's a lot of these tombs out there.
Yeah.
Has there ever been any other kind of supposed curse on anything else?
With like mummies or
well, like
I don't know.
Like any of these
that
sayings
would be
on
the correct
wall?
term. Would be sarcophagi, right?
I don't know.
It's not sarcophaguses.
You're-
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I'm not
No,
an
but you're
English
strange.
Major.
That's really weird.
I'm not an English major.
I mean, how many mummies curses are there? I don't know.
Just say pharaoh curses,
All of
bro.
them.
Like Egyptian curses.
Well, I mean, Egyptian curses. I don't know.
Well, you could tell a million. You could say there's a million of them. You can't prove one of them. So I mean, you know,
All right, so there's actually
7
7.
ancient Egyptian curses.
Let's see. Hold on.
Weren't those the plagues?
No. So you have King Tut's curse, which
King Tut.
we just
Funky
went
Tut.
over, right? And the warning on his tomb said, "Death shall approach on rapid wings to him who disrupts the king's tranquility."
Ooh, that sounds so peaceful.
That was written on the door, and everyone went, "Nah, fuck it, there's gold inside."
That was 3,000 years ago. Fuck it.
pretty strange.
Ooh.
So we have Osiris, the god of death.
Osiris.
Egyptologist Walter Brian Emery discovered a little statue of Osiris during an excavation in 1971. Emery brought the statue with him, and he went to the bathroom to shower when he went home, and he heard him crying after a few minutes, and the assistant said that he stood there as if he was paralyzed, and he was. All his right entire side was paralyzed. He couldn't form words or anything, and they died the next day.
That sounds like something like,
Sounds
you know.
like a stroke.
No, it sounds like the beginning of fucking. Well, not the beginning, technically. It sounds like how the. What was it? The. Oh, God. What was the name of the movie? The Exorcist. The Exorcist 2? The Exorcist
Okay.
3? How they found the little statue inside.
Yeah, okay.
While digging. Sounds something like that.
So then you have the curse of Kom Abu Billo. Says that his aunt died. This is off of Scope Empire, so God only knows how true this is, but says he was bringing items from the site of Kom Abu Billo, and that was a guy named Zahi Hawes. His uncle died a year later on the same day. So his aunt died that day. His uncle died the next year, and then his cousin died 2 years later.
I just want. I on the same day.
Well, his aunt and his uncle. It doesn't say about the cousin dying on the
All
same
I know
day.
is it says his favorite cousin. So he had a favorite cousin. Yeah, so his favorite cousin died.
Some of the tombs of I'm gonna fuck this one up.
Saqqara.
I don't know about that.
There's no U.
Saqqara,
Saqqara.
whatever. They have colorful curses etched on the walls to keep intruders away. Salima Ikram of the American University in Cairo examined some of the animal mummies discovered there. She explained that the inscriptions in human tombs are largely meant to dissuade trespassers from desecrating the mummies found. Yeah, no shit. We're just trying to dissuade them.
We don't want people touching our shit.
Do you think like 3,000 years ago they were painting the curses on the walls? Like, what do you think this will do? I would dissuade them.
This shall stop them.
There's another ancient Egyptian relic that was given to the German embassy in 2007
Relics scare the fuck out of me.
with a note from the anonymous sender, confessing that it cost him and his family nothing but grief.
He said, take this, Germans. I don't want it.
No, for a German to go, I don't want this. You take it. This is giving me nothing but strife. I will donate to a museum. The thief allegedly stole the artifact as a memento while in Egypt and brought it back to Germany, but he soon became ill with an unexplained ailment. He developed a fever, and his disease progressed and to paralysis and then eventually death. The thief's stepson sent the relic back because he was afraid that if he kept it in his possession that his rest of his family would die. So
Get that shit out of here.
there's
like now.
that. Oh, there's also the idea that one of the curses in Tut's tomb said that if you fuck with the body, you'll die of a disease that no doctor will be able to cure. And that
That's very specific.
exactly. Well,
Very
that's what they thought.
specific.
That's what the pneumonia was,
Right.
or the mold, right?
The mold.
So then we also have another one. There's this book, a French name. It's long. I'm not even going to try to read that. Don't, Joe. You'll have a stroke. It was published in 1699, and it was written describing a mummy's curse.
Trait des mbambabums.
Well, I would imagine that says something about embowelment, traits of embowelment. I'm going to Google that shit right now and see if we can translate it. Well, basically, it said in this book that there was a Polish man who brought two mummies from Alexandria with the intention of studying them for therapeutic purposes.
Therapeutic purposes?
Sounds to me like he wanted to fuck the mummies, but
Okay,
let's move
why-
past that.
Okay, yeah.
Why do we have to go there?
How are dead bodies going to be for therapy?
The story goes
You
that
never know.
The story goes he began to be haunted by two ghosts who appeared on the boat as he sailed back across the
Of
Mediterranean.
course they're going to haunt him. They
And he
violated their bodies.
Right, but the ghost started haunting him, and to respond, he threw the mummies into the water. He said, "Get the fuck off the boat." As soon as the bodies were swallowed by the sea, his visions of ghosts came to an end.
All right, so what
So
was
Sam and Dean are right. So salt really kills them.
yes, Sam and Dean are right? You're an asshole.
So then lastly,
They didn't burn it, though.
Treats embalments.
lastly, there could have been a mummy. A mummy might have sunk the Titanic.
Whoa.
It began as a ghost story.
That's a good one.
God.
Well, I have a question. Did we cover that when we covered the Titanic?
We did not. I did not know this.
When one of the
No?
mummies...
You're the one who brought the Titanic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know
Wow.
that there was a mummy on the Titanic.
It may or may not be true, but it's still a fascinating story. It began as a ghost story with sounds emanating from a mummy's wooden coffin in one of Britain's museums late at night. Okay. When one of the museum guards inexplicably died, they planned to take the coffin to the United States and dispose of it on the Titanic. The rest of the story is a matter of fact.
So basically, how they're trying to connect a pharaoh from 3,000 years ago was in a tomb, and somehow he know from Egypt, in the desert of Egypt, that there was going to be a giant iceberg, which he didn't know what the fuck
That's
existed.
not what he's saying, you dickhead. What
The
he's saying
pharaoh.
I
was...
think that's not exactly. You're on track there, Joey.
No, what he was saying was there was
I mean, I could. My guess is as good as yours. I'm just
there was a sarcophagus that was making noise in this museum. So he said, "Listen, there's a boat heading to America. Just toss it overboard when you're in the
America.
middle of the fucking ocean." So they loaded the mummy onto the boat, and he paid the guy $50, and he said, "I'll just toss it overboard at your earliest inconvenience." Problem is, Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and he was banging Kate Winslet in the car, so he couldn't get the mummy's tomb out. And then it hit the iceberg, and then it sank,
Say
and
what
then
you want.
aliens sent the laser beam down and blew the iceberg in two, and that's what sank the Titanic.
I don't care. Anybody tells me Leo
Problem
could have fit.
solved.
Leo could have fit on that slate. Anyhow,
Door.
do we have any more of this?
I mean, that's a lot of Egyptian curses.
Yeah, I see. I again, this is something that see like the previous episodes where we go into this with high hopes, and you get like 20 minutes into it, and you go, you know what?
we did everything.
There's
Good
not-
night, everybody.
There's not really a lot there.
But think of this, Lily. You have 8 people, 9 eventually, and a dog, and a canary,
10. Oh yeah, and a canary, so 11.
And a very happy cobra.
who all died very soon after they found this tomb that everybody was really hoping they would find. Because think
Right.
about that. You are uncovering something that's 3,000 years old.
And think about this: the curse actually stood upon people that fucked with it originally. In other words, digging his tomb up and then bringing all the shit all over the world. The guys that driving the trucks, they don't get hurt because they were originally, the ones.
Yeah,
that
I'm
broke
just
in.
hoping. Look, I knocked on the table because I don't hope there's some like juju out there that comes into this booth.
None of the FedEx drivers died. Okay?
You never know, all right? It's the King Tut might be in the Wi-Fi connection.
Do you guys? I mean, you probably don't, but I mean, I watch the Munsters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's an episode in the Munsters where Herman gets lost in the museum. Okay, and what happened was they had just brought this exhibit into the museum. King Tut's exhibit and they call it King Tut, but nobody opened it yet. So he got tired of walking. He got locked in the museum, so he figured he'd go into the sarcophagus and fall asleep. So in the morning, the security guard hears, and he's looking. He can't figure out what it is. So he goes over and he looks at the thing and he hears a noise in it. And then Herman opens the thing like that, and the guard just flips the fuck out.
Shit himself.
He shit himself because he saw Herman coming out of there. And then Herman woke up, found his way out of the thing, closed the sarcophagus. And then when the reports of this giant 7-foot green creature were walking through the museum late at night, they opened up the sarcophagus, and there was never anything there to begin with. So, of course, we went back to that state, and they thought that Herman was King Tut.
Tut?
Yeah.
So
a little
I
side
did
note
some
of
some
my
math.
boy.
All right, wait, hold on. Eric did math. Hey, buddy.
Hey, I did math. So apparently, according to math right now, King Tut's curse has a 20.39% kill ratio.
Success rate.
Success rate. Yeah.
So,
I mean, those are rookie numbers.
In the words of Block,
In
those
the
are,
words of
those
the
are
great
rookie
Roblox
numbers.
on.
I mean, it's not like last week. Like, he sat there, like, LeVay turned around and only cursed one person. Didn't get the person that he cursed.
Right.
So King Tut has more on his hands than LeVay does. So just put it like that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to
I mean,
LeVay
oh,
that
yeah,
we
yeah,
didn't
you're right,
cover in
you're
that
Oh,
episode.
You could do a book. You could do a whole.
but
I mean, there's a
season
lot of
on
people-
LeVay.
Technically, he is 1 for 1 though, because he did curse someone and still got the body.
Task
It was-
failed
but-
successfully.
But,
Yeah,
but it was the wrong body.
Yeah, I mean,
So
task
technically, that's 1
failed
for 1.
successfully. Yeah, so okay. So if you want to put it like that, LeVay 100%, King Tut 20%. I don't know how someone out there is gonna have. If we get big and really big with more people
This
and
episode
listen,
is gonna be the one that's
someone is gonna sit there and have like a tally marker in their fucking LeVay 1, King Tut.
That'll be the new mug.
But I mean,
Horrible.
Anton has 3 bodies to his name, and
3?
yeah, there was 3 people who died in that car.
Oh shit!
So LeVay has 3 bodies to his name,
With
but
one
King
curse,
Tut
so
has
he's
10.
300%.
But
That one-
King Tut has 10. So
Tut has 8 people. Now, okay,
And it's
8.
branched down to like
Hey, I did
dogs
that-
and.
no, I
oh,
did
real
that-
quick though, I mean,
I did that out of 11 because I thought it was like the canary and the
Oh,
dog
yeah, that's
and all
true.
that too.
Real quick though, a little sidebar from last week's episode. You asked this, and I didn't have the answer then. You asked if there was a connection between LeVay and Manson, and there was.
Oh, I asked that.
Oh, you asked
Oh,
that.
we did.
There-
So if
connect
it's
them.
8, if it's
One
8,
of
King
the
Tut's curse has a 14% success rate.
okay, one of the I forget her name, but she was one of the ones who killed like the pregnant woman and then the actress and
Susan Atkins.
yeah,
Okay.
she was a Satanist, and she knew Anton LaVey, not personally,
She
But
was Susan
they-
Atkins was saying this.
I'm
They
just
had.
hearing this for the
I'm
first time.
thinking it. The thing that's her. They had crossed
Well, yeah,
paths.
you had Susan Atkins, you had Katie Krenwinkel, and you had
Katie Krenwinkel.
I think it's Susan Atkins.
I would never be afraid
'Cause
of
I was
somebody
do-
named Katie Krenwinkel.
So she's 64 in your fat ass. But I was
Why do you have
as
to go
I
with
was
the fat name,
I was
bro?
as I was doing research, I did find that Susan Atkins, I'm pretty sure it was her, crossed paths with Anton LaVey before meeting up with Chucky. So,
Motherfucker said Chucky.
just saying. That's something to research for you.
Well,
She attended a couple of LaVey's sermons, I think. That's the connection. Didn't know him personally, but then went
didn't know
on
him
to
personally. Didn't know him personally.
carry on those beliefs over to Chucky's side.
You're a dick. Well, gentlemen, I think this episode is we kicked the proverbial King Tut tomb. So there's nothing more we can cover on this. Nothing.
Joey, I think you're in denial. I think there's always
Shut up.
more to cover.
Shut the
That
hell
was
up.
a dumb joke.
Yes, it was. So next week, guys, I have never heard of this one before, but next week we have the Curse of Tippecanoe,
Yes.
which I believe is
It involves the presidents, and then specifically the presidents who are elected in a year ending in a 0 for a very long time, all died in office. Like, that's the weird curse, and there's going to be more to it. I haven't done the research in it yet, but I know that's the big part of it. I mean, obviously, it ended with, I think, Reagan. Because Reagan was elected in 80, right, Dad?
Actually, he was, in 1980, he was
Yeah.
elected, yeah.
So it ended with
Took office in
Reagan.
81.
because Richard Nixon.
Because it ended with Reagan, and every president who's been elected in a 0 since then has been fine. But it's just been Reagan, Trump, Reagan, Bush, and 2020 was Biden. So, I mean, if Biden doesn't die in office, then that's 3 for 3 past the curse.
Well,
But-
I don't want the guy to die. I hate the motherfucker, but I don't want to see anybody dead. He's a father.
Okay.
He's a father, a grandfather. You don't want that. It just,
No,
taking
but
out-
like,
We
taking
don't
out
wish-
screaming in cuffs. No,
We don't wish death upon anybody.
no, but
But it would make the curse a little more interesting. Never mind.
But yeah, if you look back, the big part of Tippecanoe is if you were elected in a year that ended in a 0, you went belly up in office.
Why do they call it Tippecanoe?
Kennedy.
Kennedy, Lincoln,
Lincoln.
there's a couple of them. There's like 7 out of 8
Wasn't
died.
the guy that was assassinated before Kennedy? I believe it was 1900 he got. I can't think of the president.
Garfield?
No.
1900?
No, not Garfield. Well, you know what? To
yeah.
be discussed.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this
so,
next week.
so go around the room.
Yeah, okay, so, Dad, do you believe that there is a curse for King Tut?
This is going to surprise you. I do. I want to say no. I want to say no. I don't believe it because, to me, 9 people out of 55 or whatever it is.
58.
58. To me, I don't know. It sounds a little far-fetched, but you can't ignore the fact that it did happen, and it was the writing was in the tomb. Now you don't know what they're playing with. What kind of magic. In those days, you don't know. I mean, Osiris alone scares the shit out of me. That's the dead, the god of the dead.
God of the dead, yes.
Yes. See, that
And
scares the
Anubis
living
was
shit out
the
of me.
god of the...
Afterlife, wasn't it?
No. He was the... So it's like this. Anubis was the god of the dead. Osiris was the god of the underworld. So you have the idea of death and the idea of underworld. Or I guess you could call it hell.
I do believe
2 different gods.
I'm gonna throw my towel in the. I do believe there was a curse section because again, if you didn't have that writing on the tomb, or the subsequent tombs, I'd say no. It's just somebody's imagination. But
Pete, the god of air conditioning.
I have to
No one prayed to him.
go along with. I have to say it's true.
All right.
All right. Mr. West, Mr. West, Mr. West.
Fence.
What the fuck, man? just fence. Like, literally, you can't say, well, I'm on the fence, and can you give me an explanation why?
Fence.
Just no explanation. Gotcha,
Fence.
gotcha. Pharaoh Tony.
Tonesi's the first.
Okay.
So let it be written.
Okay, no, I don't think. I think if it was a curse, the number would be a little higher. I think the idea of saying, "Hey, don't fuck with this tomb or death is going to come after you," is a good threat to put on anyone's grave. Why wouldn't you? I want that on my grave. Hey, leave the fat fuck alone, or he's going to come back and haunt you. He's going to sit on you while you sleep, smother you with those A+ ass cheeks he had. I think you had 2 guys die of pneumonia. You had a guy burn up in a fire.
If Tony comes back,
The
as
only
a
Your
one-
average deaths.
The only one that really does spook me is the one guy that they found in a locked room smothered. That one spooks me because typically that doesn't happen.
No.
You gotta make sure.
Wait, wasn't that for
One guy killed himself.
No,
you know what I mean?
the
Like,
guy in the locker room smothered. You said that was for LaVey, wasn't it?
no,
No.
Crowley.
no.
I thought
That-
it was Crowley too.
Well, that's the thing. They think he's associated with Aleister Crowley.
Right.
So how is
Which-
he associated with King Tut?
Well, because he was one of the guys who was there for King Tut too. You mean it is possible he knew he was there for both. You know, he happened to know Aleister Crowley, and he happened to be at King Tut's thing. So
Interesting.
my point is, that's the only one that spooks me. And if Aleister Crowley was some magical, mystical warlock evil fuck, then there's a good chance that maybe the death is more Aleister Crowley's than it is King Tut's. So if it is spooky ooky
Spooky Ookie.
and it's Crowley's, then I can't give that to Tut. But everyone else with Tut's like, okay, sick, burnt up,
Eric, scratch that one off of Tut's board.
suicide. It's like these are things that, listen, it sucks that it all happened to these people who discovered Tut's tomb, but coincidences are a motherfucker. Like, it'd be one thing if they like found a motherfucker dead and like King Tut was here, was written in the wall. Like, I mean, I think it was him.
Jesus Christ.
Let me put it like this. The
touch
mosquito
me.
bite
Don't touch me.
that killed Lord Big Bucks, who funded the whole fucking thing, happened on his cheek, right? And when they did an X-ray and they examined the body, they said that there was a mark that was on Tut's cheek. But Kavanaugh was already dead, or whatever Lord Cornwall, the fuck his name is, was already dead for months, and they weren't gonna dig his ass up to compare where the cheek marks was. So, like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, that he had an infection and a bite on his cheek, and this dead person had a thing on their cheek? Like, coincidence, people.
All right, I can see your point.
And that cobra was just hungry, and the dog had 1 leg. The dog had 3 legs. That poor little tripod of a canine can't even run.
And what was the bird, the species?
It was a canary.
Canary?
Yeah. I mean,
Canary.
it's a fucking cobra. It's like, look, lunch.
Okay.
know?
For me at least, I'm with him. I don't think it's a curse. I think it's just coincidence. These people. I'll be honest.
This week?
Just think about it though. Like 60 years, like only not even 10 of these people who discovered this tomb are dead, and 2 of them weren't even at the site. You know, they
Right.
were just dealing with the body and whatnot.
Well, see, that's what that's what I'm trying to say too. To me,
Okay,
You-
I was just talking.
you can
know,
just cut.
this fucking guy.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. For it to be a curse, more spooky shit has to happen. More mysterious deaths have to happen. Like most of these guys died because of whatever, you know, sickness and.
I looked it up. No one on the cleaning crew died afterwards. You know what I mean? After they took everything out and they
It is a cleaning crew, Dad.
like, I'm not fucking around here, but like after they took everything out and King Tut went on a world tour because they know they did that with him.
After they grave robbed him.
After they grave robbed him, we're like, all right, we're gonna put him back. Let's clean everything up. We're gonna make it a tourist track. We're gonna sell T-shirts. They sent a bunch of people in there with Fabuloso and rags. None of them died.
Fabuloso.
None of them went belly up. They're just clean. Oh, King Tut.
Nope. Okay, we're gonna end this episode here.
Mira, que mira bleach.
We're gonna end this episode here. My fucking Christ.
Okay.
Next week, like I said, we have the Curse of Tippecanoe. Remember, everybody, our Patreon is now $1. Please go sign up. Please go listen. Our new show, Is This Show True Crime, is going to be up and running on that Patreon account. So if you want to listen to more true crime stuff, that's going to be on Patreon exclusive. please go and listen. Go follow our TikTok. Go follow all of our social medias. Is this real PC? Follow Pope Tony the First. Follow JC3. What's your TikTok name, Dad?
I don't have a TikTok.
No, you don't have a TikTok. Well, isn't that Angry Uncle?
It is. I used the Angry Uncle. I did that for the obvious.
Oh, we also dropped the first episode of the Is This Real Cooking show.
Yes, Is This Real Cooking is up and running. New episodes are going to be coming out soon. Just remember, guys, everyone say goodnight.
Yatsumi.
Adios, motherfuckers.
Remember, guys, question
Peace.
everything. Good night. We love you. See you next week.
Konnichiwa, bitches. It's Ryu West speaking. If you want to find out more about the Is This Real podcast, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/isthisrealpc or on Twitter at isthisrealpc or on Instagram at isthisrealpodcast, all one word.